I'm 23. My husband is 25. We've been together for 5 years and married for 3 of them. He was my first sexual partner and my first serious relationship. And 2 days ago, I cheated on him. I'm writing this because I don't understand why my hands aren't trembling with shame as I type these words. Why my heart isn't clenching with guilt. Why the only thing I feel right now, sitting on the bathroom floor while my husband sleeps beyond the wall, is this strange, almost painful relief. Like I finally remembered what it feels like to be alive. But I still don't cry. Let me start from the beginning, because otherwise you won't understand why. At first, our relationship was amazing. That fairy tale they show you in movies. We took care of each other, spent so much time together, and the thought of cheating on him never even crossed my mind. He was my world, my first love, the only person who had ever touched my body. When we got married, something broke. I was in school and couldn't work, so all the financial pressure fell on him. He found a good job with a decent salary, and that's when it started. First, it was just words. Lazy, useless. I tried to take them as jokes, though they cut deeper than I wanted to admit even to myself. Then he stopped hugging me. When I tried to kiss him, he'd turn away. Just like that. A quick movement of his head to the side, like I was an insect trying to land on his face. Every time he did it, something inside me cracked. A small fracture, then another, then another. Sex almost disappeared from our relationship. And when it happened, if you could even call it sex, he'd just finish in a couple of minutes and turn away from me. His back to me. Always his back. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, feeling something wet and cold running down my thighs, thinking, is this it? Is this what I waited all those years for? I really wanted to fix things. God, how I tried. I joined a gym so he'd like my body again. I bought expensive lingerie, the kind that was too pricey for our budget, but I thought maybe this would work. I cooked romantic dinners with candles and wine. The last time I initiated sex, dressed in new black lace that highlighted everything I thought he might like, he looked at me like I'd done something obscene. I don't want you, he said simply. You're like a child to me. Those words killed something in me, something important, but I still couldn't leave, because I still loved him, or thought I loved him, or was just too scared to admit I'd wasted 5 years of my life on someone who no longer saw me as a woman. This went on for the last 6 months. We lived like roommates, like brother and sister, like two strangers who accidentally rented the same apartment and were trying not to get in each other's way. And then, 2 days ago, I met up with a friend I hadn't seen in a few years. At first, it was just a meeting, coffee at a small cafe by the park. We talked a lot about life, work, everything and nothing. He listened to me, really listened, looking into my eyes, smiling at the right moments, nodding when I said something important. When was the last time my husband looked at me like I was worth his attention? I don't remember who kissed first. Maybe it was simultaneous, sudden and so natural, like our lips always knew they were meant to meet. It wasn't like those hesitant kisses from 5 years ago with my husband. This was hungry, desperate, full of desire and something wild I didn't even know existed in me. We went to his place. We had sex several times that evening. He asked what I liked. Kissed me, not quick, mechanical kisses, but slow, deep ones that made me forget how to breathe. Told me how beautiful and sexy I was. Touched me like my body was something precious worth exploring, not a chore to get through quickly. And I finally had an orgasm with a partner. Not the kind I faked with my husband in the first months of our marriage, trying to make him feel good. Not the kind I gave myself late at night when he was already asleep, quietly so I wouldn't wake him. A real one. The kind that rolled through my body in waves, that made me scream his name, dig my nails into his back, forget who I was and where I was. When I left his place at 3 a.m., I was a completely happy woman. not filled with shame and guilt over my betrayal. Happy, alive. This still amazes me. I could never have imagined having sex with anyone but my husband, let alone that it could feel this good, this right, this natural. Does this sound like I'm justifying what I did? Probably, but I don't feel the need to, because I'd do it again, and I don't regret it one bit. I can't forgive myself for not knowing for so many years what an orgasm feels like, what tenderness is, what it means when a partner wants to give you pleasure, for thinking it was normal to sleep next to someone who doesn't touch you for months. I came home at dawn. My husband was still asleep. He always sleeps until 9 on weekends. I stood by our bed and looked at him, at his face so familiar, at his arm thrown behind his head, at the sheet that had slipped off his chest, and felt nothing. No love, no shame, no desire, just emptiness. When he woke up, I told him everything. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I wanted him to do what I couldn't. End this relationship. Maybe I wanted to see pain in his eyes to finally feel that he felt something for me. He didn't yell, didn't cry, just sat on the bed staring at the wall, silent for about 15 minutes. Then he said, "Don't go." I thought he'd say something else, that he'd call me a whore, that he'd hit me, that he'd kick me out, but he said, "Don't go." "I don't think I love you anymore," I said. "Otherwise I couldn't have cheated." "Don't go," he repeated. "Please, don't destroy our family." Family? What family? Two people who haven't had sex in months? Who don't kiss? Who don't talk about anything except bills and what to cook for dinner? But he kept talking. Said he'd done so much for this relationship. It's true. He provides for us completely, gives me gifts on holidays, gives me money for whatever I need. I only deal with housework and school, like a 1950s housewife. "I'll change," he said. "I'll pay more attention to you. I promise." "How many times have you promised already?" I asked. He didn't answer. "I won't be able to do anything without you," he said, and for the first time in months there were emotions in his voice. "I'll quit my job because there won't be any point in working anymore." And that's when my resolve started to fade, because I don't want to be the reason for someone's destruction. Don't want to destroy a family, even one that only exists on paper. Don't want to feel like a bad person, though essentially I already am one, right? But what scares me most is something else. How can he forgive betrayal so easily? He didn't even ask for details. Didn't ask who it was. How many times? If we used a condom, nothing. Just don't go. Like it doesn't matter. Like I'm not important enough to be jealous over. And I'm afraid. So afraid that he'll just ignore me again once he realizes I'm staying. That all his promises will evaporate in a week, 2 at most. That he'll start turning away again when I try to kiss him. That sex will become rare, quick, mechanical again, and I'll lie there afterward, staring at his back and feeling like a used thing. It's the 3rd night now. He's sleeping in the bedroom. I'm sitting on the bathroom floor writing this. My phone vibrates. It's that guy. He wrote, "Are you okay? We can meet again if you just want to talk." I look at this message and don't know what to answer. Part of me wants to see him again, to feel once more what it means to be desired, what it means to get pleasure from intimacy, what it means to be a woman, not a free maid and cook. The other part, the one raised with the idea that marriage is forever, that you have to fight for relationships, that cheating is the worst thing you can do, tells me to give my husband another chance. But how many chances have I already given over these 6 months, over a year, over all 3 years of our marriage? I lift my finger to the screen, start typing a response. Delete it. Type again. Delete. My husband stirs in the bedroom, calls for me. "Where are you?" "Come to bed." I look at my reflection in the mirror above the sink. I see a woman who looks tired, thin, older than she should be at 23. But in her eyes, for the first time in a long time, there's something alive. Coming, I say, but I don't go. I sit here on the cold tile trying to understand what's right, what I should do, why I don't feel guilty, why the only thing I feel is anger at myself for wasting so many years on someone who never tried to make me happy. And I also think about how my friend asked me what I liked. So simply, like it was self-evident, like a woman's pleasure isn't an optional extra, but a mandatory part of sex. Why did my husband never ask me that? Why, in 5 years, 3 of them married, was he never curious whether I was getting pleasure, whether I liked what he was doing, whether I wanted to try something different? Why did I accept this as normal? The phone vibrates again. Another message. I don't want to pressure you. Just know the door's open whenever you want. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and finally understand. I don't feel guilty because inside, deep down where I was afraid to look all these months, I know the truth. My body betrayed before I did. It refused to feel intimacy with someone who had long stopped seeing me as a living person. It closed off, went numb, frozen waiting. And 2 days ago, it finally woke up. And now the question isn't whether to cheat again. The question is whether I can put my body back in the cage where it was suffocating for the last 6 months. My husband calls for me again, louder, impatient. I get up from the floor, look at the bathroom door, then at the phone in my hand, and I type a response. I typed, yes, I want to see you, sent it before I could change my mind. My heart was beating so loud it felt like my husband would hear it even through the wall, but he called for me again, and there was irritation in his voice now. Coming, I said out loud but wrote to the other. Tomorrow? I can do 3 p.m. He responded instantly. I'll be waiting. The next day, I told my husband I was going to a friend's place. He didn't even look up from his phone, just nodded, didn't ask who didn't ask when I'd be back, nothing. I put on a simple black dress, the one I bought last summer, and never wore once because my husband said it was too revealing. When I got to his place, we talked a lot at first. He asked how I was doing, if everything was okay, how school was going. He listened to me, really listened, and it was so unusual after months when my husband didn't even ask how my day went. Then we kissed, and it was again just as sudden and pleasant as the first time. We had sex, and he again asked what I liked, touched me gently, said how beautiful I was. I finally felt that someone really wanted me, and not just using my body to quickly finish. When I came home at 8 p.m., my husband was sitting on the couch with his phone. He looked up when I took off my shoes. You were there a long time. We talked a lot, I said, and it wasn't entirely a lie. He nodded and looked back at his phone. I stood there looking at him, at the man I'd lived with for 5 years, at the person who promised to change, but didn't even ask where I'd been for those 5 hours, if everything was okay, if I was hungry. We need to talk, I said. He finally put down his phone, looked at me, and there was something like fear in his eyes. You were with him again, weren't you? I could have lied, but I was tired of lying, of pretending everything was fine. Yes, I said. He closed his eyes, his jaw tensed. I asked you. I said I was changing. In 2 days? You think you can change in 2 days after 6 months of what it was? You had 6 months a year, 3 years? I was working. I was providing for us. What else did you want from me? To touch me, to kiss me, to ask how my day was, to look at me like I'm not furniture in the apartment you pay for. He was silent because we both knew it was true. I'm leaving. Not today, not tomorrow, but I'm leaving. We need to discuss details. I don't want to leave you in a bad spot, but I can't be in this marriage anymore. Because of him? Because of some guy you barely know? Because of me? Because I finally remembered that I deserve more than what you were giving me. Because I felt what it means when someone cares about you, not just about themselves. I turned to go to the bedroom to pack things, but his voice stopped me. You're giving up. I turned around. No, I'm not giving up. I'm finally doing what I should have done months ago. I'm choosing myself. 3 weeks later, I'm living in a small rented apartment. It's cramped, the furniture is old, the soundproofing is terrible, but it's mine. I sleep on a pull-out couch, eat mac and cheese 3 days in a row, but I'm happy. He texts me every day. At first, they were angry messages about what a traitor I am, then pleading ones where he promises he'll really change, then manipulative ones where he says he can't live without me. I don't respond, my lawyer responds. That guy, I see him sometimes. Sometimes we have sex, sometimes we just talk, sometimes we watch movies. One night I asked him what we were, and he asked what I'd like us to be. I said, I don't know that I need time to figure out who I am without my husband, who I am alone. He said, okay, I have time. And I believe him. 2 months later, the divorce papers are signed. My ex-husband looks at me across the table in the lawyer's office, and it's the first genuine question he's asked me in months. Are you really happy? I think about my tiny apartment, about how I found a job, not crazily well paid, but enough about how I finished school, about how I'm no longer afraid to be desired, and about how I finally know who I am without him. Yes, I'm happy. He nodded, signed the last document. I hope he's worth it, he said, standing up. I looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something like pity for him, because he still doesn't understand. It's not about him. It's about me. I'm worth it. I walked out of the office into a sunny day, took out my phone and wrote to that guy, "Free tonight?" The response came almost instantly, "For you, always." I smiled, put the phone in my bag, and walked to the subway. I'm walking toward my life, toward myself, toward the woman I was always supposed to be. And I will never again let myself forget that I'm worth being desired, worth being loved, worth being seen, that I'm worth being happy.